Welcome to the Boobcast, a podcast by Tiger's Eye where we talk all things sports bras, breast health, and cover the incredible stories of women in our community. Today we're having a conversation with a head of operations, Sarah, who is a retired US Marine Corps police officer. She unfortunately had to retire due to medical issues, and as you'll be shocked to hear from her, some of these issues were in fact caused by standard sports bras she was wearing while serving. Enjoy! When and why did you join the military, Sarah?
I joined the Marine Corps in 2013. I was in college. I was not happy. It wasn't the path I wanted to take. I wanted to be out in the world doing things and helping people. And the military kind of always called to me since I was pretty young. I had some family members in there, and it was just something that I needed to get out and do something that was bigger than me. Well, the military is all-encompassing. The Marine is a branch of the U.S. military.
That's interesting because normal people, I didn't know that.
There's 6 branches, technically. So there's Marines, Army, Air Force, Navy, most recently the Space Force. But the 4 main branches before the Space Force came into force are very dependent on the jobs that they are doing. So if there's a war breaks out, typically, Marines go in first. They take care of immediate threats and they lock down the general area. Army then comes in much greater numbers, reinforces and takes foothold and stays there. The Navy is the taxi service for the Marine Corps. They get us around the world in, hours and days to get to where we need to be. And then the Air Force is up in the air, fighting from aerial pursuits. The Marine Corps and the Navy also have pilots. It's very job dependent and mission specific to which branch goes in to do what job. So military is all-encompassing term. So just like a troop is an all-encompassing term for someone in the military, but a soldier is someone in the Army. Yeah. A Marine is a Marine. Airman for Air Force, soldier in the Army, and a sailor in the Navy.
What's the most annoying thing that people usually mix up in terms of terminology?
Calling Marines soldiers.
Really?
Yeah, you have to earn the title of Marine. So the difference a lot with the branches is if you go through Marine Corps boot camp, you do one contract, you do 4 years, but then you decide to transition to the Air Force, the Navy, the Army. You do not need to repeat boot camp. You go immediately over. You may not keep the same job, but typically you keep the same level of rank. If you were in any of the other branches and you want to go to the Marine Corps, you start at the bottom. You go back to boot camp. You start at the very bottom in terms of rank. And yeah, it's also the longest boot camp.
What's the main difference between a boot camp in different branches of the military?
Length, intensity, certain freedoms and liberties you have while you're there. The training is vastly different. The physical requirements are very different. Each branch has its own different physical requirements. So a Marine fitness test is different than an Air Force fitness test, different than a Navy and a Army fitness test.
How old were you when you joined the Marines, and how old were you when you left?
So I was 2 weeks after my 21st birthday, so I was one of the older women in my boot camp class. Most people who join the Marine Corps straight out of high school, so you've got 18, 19-year-olds. The maturity level definitely shows through in something like that. A lot of people grew up very, very quickly over the course of boot camp. They came in as, kids, and then they leave as mature, functioning adults in society. A lot of people came from broken homes or no homes at all, and through the Marine Corps they were able to gain family and a sense of self and worth and a place of belonging. It's a beautiful thing to see. There were a lot of girls in my boot camp class who were actually homeless prior to going into the Marine Corps. I left the Marine Corps 3 weeks after my 30th birthday. Mm-hmm. So I was a MP, military police. The MOS for that is 5811. So MP, military police, and I served 9 years and 11 days in the Marine Corps. So 911.
How did it make you feel leaving quite young?
It was hard. I'd planned to serve a full 20 years. Unfortunately, due to medical issues, that got cut short. My last day in uniform, when I got home, I actually cried. So taking it off for the last time and putting them into storage, like suit savers, they're all in my closet at home. I took off my rank and all that, and I made a shadow box of my medals and everything. There's two things in my life that I'm extremely proud of, and one of them is joining the Marine Corps.
The other one?
Can we ask?
Marrying June.
You've told us before that you've had breast surgery. If you can tell us a little bit about how that started, why, what you had done, what kind of happened afterwards with getting back to being physically active.
So I noticed over the 9-ish years that I was in the Marine Corps, my breasts started to droop, sag. The ligaments and the tendons were not as strong as they used to be, partially due to the horrible sports bras I was wearing while I was doing all these high impact activities. And once I got out of the military, I decided I wanted to have a breast reduction surgery to help also relieve some of the pain that I was dealing with in back, neck, shoulders, help me do the limited physical things that I'm still able to do, the limited cardio, the limited weight training and whatnot that I'm still capable of doing as a disabled vet. I wanted to be able to do those a little easier, a little less in pain. So I had my breast reduction. And the sports bras I was wearing when I was first recovering from that surgery, once I was cleared to start working out again, I was noticing that there was just still a lot of pain and discomfort. The sports bras I had at the time, they were not supportive in the way they needed to be. The underband was way too tight. I couldn't breathe. The shoulder straps were digging in. My breasts were being squished and not equally supported in a comfortable way. And then when I joined Tiger's Eye and I got my first Tiger's Eye, putting it on, going to the gym for the first time, doing the limited forms of cardio and weight training that I can do, it was a significant overnight difference. Just being able to, the limited amount of treadmill running or anything like that I can do, I could do with so much less pain. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have pain for the rest of my life, but having less pain is a massive difference. For someone that lives with chronic pain, when it goes from when you're normally living at a 5 and it drops down to a 2, that's a great day. Being able to go out and enjoy my life, go out and spend time with my wife, exploring, traveling, doing the things that we love to do without having as much pain as I normally do, it makes it all worth it.
And would you say that was the biggest difference that you've seen between wearing a normal sports bra and wearing a Tiger's Eye bra? The reduction in pain?
100%. I mean, it's day and night, the difference between the amount of pain you have with, whatever off-the-rack sports bras are out there versus the support, the comfort, the ability to breathe and move without restriction, the freedom that you feel in being able to do the things you love to do without having to worry about, oh, this is going to hurt. Jumping into the things you love and saying, hey, I'm free of the pain, the discomfort. I can do the things I love without the worry anymore.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Lovely.
Even my 67-year-old aunt threw one on. She's like, I haven't been able to jump like this since I was 6.
Did you get this on camera?
That is my favourite feedback ever. I swear. It is on camera.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Do you think if there was specific equipment made for women, it would have allowed you to stay longer? It would have helped you with some of the health issues that you were facing?
Definitely. I think in terms of the joint issues I have, the neck, back, shoulder, the migraine pain, I think if a lot of the gear was made to fit us better, I wouldn't be having the issues that I am now at 32 years old, where my body is much closer to probably a 55-year-old's.
Is it true that equipment and clothing is called unisex, and it's not specifically made for women and men separately.
In terms of the uniforms, they're not unisex, they're uniform, but there are differences in like the trousers for women, they'll like rise higher and more room for your butt. Blouses have a little bit more room for that. But in terms of the functional equipment, so your packs, your flax, anything like that, any overgear, that is all kind of a one size fits all for the most part. There's different, small, medium, large, but there's no made for women's contours or room for breasts, room for hips. A lot of women, there were 3 girls in my boot camp class that actually suffered hip fractures during our final evolution because of the packs and the weight in the packs.
Did you ever find yourself complaining about bras?
I don't think a lot of women feel comfortable sharing whether or not they're dealing with breast pain. Even if you're showering with 60 other women, there's still that sense of reserve in it. But that's definitely a topic that needs to be spoken about more, because if higher-ups don't know it's causing us a problem, it's never going to be addressed. It's never going to be fixed because it's not being brought up. Like the height and weight issues, the Marine Corps, when I first came in, I was always very close to being overweight by our standards. And then as time went on, they realized, women have breasts, women have hips, women have larger, behinds that are going to contribute to weight. And these are things that we can't exercise away for the most part. So eventually the Marine Corps height and weight standards changed to kind of address those issues.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
But the body fat percentage is an average body fat percentage is a lot higher for women and then like even for athletes.
Yeah. Well, boobs are mostly fat.
Do you think there's a pressure on women of not speaking of issues which are only related to them because they are a minority, they want to fit in?
No, definitely. No one wants to cause waves, ruffle feathers. No one wants to be seen dealing with women's issues in a men's dominated field. It's, you want to be a Marine, not a female Marine. We don't like the separation. You want to be seen as just as much of a member of the team as the guy next to you. Mm-hmm. So by saying, I'm dealing with cramps, I'm dealing with breast pain, it unfortunately separates you from the group.
Do you think if breast education was added to general health education, including sex, periods, things like that they are taught from young, would have made a difference?
I think it would make a difference worldwide, just in general. I mean, how many women, before women started going to school and getting sex education knew what exactly a period was, knew what ovulation was, could understand why am I bloating at this time of the month? Why are my breasts hurting at this time of the month? What does it mean to get pregnant? What is getting pregnant? And it's important also for not just women, but men to be educated on this. Women should know about men's health issues as much as men should know about women's health issues. It's human health, flat and simple.
Love that. It's human health.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're a Marine, you're a Marine. You're not a woman. You're not a man.
You're a Marine. You are a tool of the U.S. government.
Yeah. But as a sergeant or a general, you want to understand what the issues that they're facing, and you want to be educated and understanding.
A big part of it is also men coming to realize that breasts aren't a sexual thing. First and foremost, they're there to, feed tiny humans. But after that, they're just, once they're done with that function, men only view them in a sexual context. They're not viewed as anything other than that.
It's really interesting that in many places in Africa, a lot of tribes walk around topless because it's not considered sexy. Mm-hmm. Breasts are purely considered for women to feed their babies, and it's not considered in any way sexual. Yep. So Zulus and a lot of other tribes, they walk around completely topless. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how it changes depending on where you are, depending on context. I like what you said with the difference in, you're there to be a Marine, you're not there to be a female Marine. Mm-hmm. But do you feel like education amongst men would make a difference in that way, and sort of celebrating what's different rather than just putting men and women in the same box and closing the lid.
There gets to be a point where making the distinction can actually be a hindrance to cohesion and function.
I think there's so much competition between men and women these days. To me, it shouldn't be a competition. There should be an understanding that we're different, we've got different attributes and our bodies are different, and as long as we understand and we give the right equipment for what we have, that's the only way we can perform at our best.
I mean, men have been in the military since day one. Wars happen because men are around. But, I mean, Cain and Abel, number one. First war, men. And then women, just like in pro sports, it may have been, Oprah Mae Johnson, 1918, first female to enlist in the Marine Corps, enlisting in more admin-related things. So women weren't actually entering combat in warlike situations until decades later. So it's just like with pro sports, women weren't entering these arenas until decades and decades after men. And the gear and the technology is not caught up to meet the needs of these women.
Do you think the militaries in general lack in terms of equipment which should be made specifically for women because our bodies are different?
Primary things I think would be flak jackets and packs. Flak jackets are the really thick bulletproof vests that you wear. They have front plates, back plates, and side plates. So you can adjust them to a certain extent. You can make, the width between the front and back plate wider if you're wider, same with the hips. But they're also very straight. So men have very, typically shoulders to hips, it's a pretty straight line. Women, there's usually hips involved. I have wider hips. So getting these things to fit in a way that is comfortable but still provides you the necessary protection becomes a struggle. Because you want to make sure, the plate is covering your organs and you're not going to die.
Yeah. So basically the two things which are most important are support and comfort. Pretty much the same as in a sports bra.
Yeah, support and comfort. If you're going to be out in the field, out on deployment, and something starts to chafe, rub, bleed, cut, it's distractive. It can be a real health issue. If you get an infection, you're pulled from your team, retention goes down, readiness goes down. Everything starts to suffer when service members have gear that doesn't work for them and actually causes them injury in return.
Mm. Is there a misconception between these injuries and similar as in athletes and sports that pain, it's normal, injuries are normal, just toughen up and suck it up kind of thing? Because that's what a lot of runners are saying when they've got the nipple chafing and bleeding. They consider it normal to their sports.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of suck it up. There's going to be a certain extent of pain and uncomfortableness. At the end of every training evolution, every hike, every what have you, instructors and platoon team leaders always ask, are you hurt or are you injured? Because there's a big difference. Hurt is, I'm going to pop some ibuprofen, chill out, and in a couple hours, tomorrow I'm going to be okay. Injured, you need to go to medical. But a lot of people see going to medical as being a sign of weakness. And then that initial injury, whether it's a sprained ankle, back's tweaked, isn't treated. It's compounded with future things. And then next thing you know, you're 33 and medically retired from the military because you're busted.
And I can imagine especially women don't want to show that weakness. They want to blend in.
Exactly.
They don't want to be looked at differently. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be complaining of, for example, period pains or breast pain and things like that. They already get looked at differently than...
So when you're dealing with, bad period cramps or endometriosis and you're taking 3,000 milligrams of ibuprofen a day to get through the day, not knowing what that's going to do to your kidneys or liver, and yeah.
Are sports bras considered part of the equipment that you get given?
Sports bras, at least at boot camp, are not considered equipment or gear. It's seen as the same as underwear. So when you go to boot camp, you're issued a couple sets of uniforms, you get socks, underwear, whatever sports bra that they have. It's usually a small, medium, large, no adjustable options. You put it on, you're in it all day, you take it off when you go to the shower, and then you put on a new one, and just the cycle kind of repeats. You're lucky if you get your bra back from the laundry. There were times where we would be done showering and you'd be changing and you would have a small, but you need a large, so you'd yell out across the squad bay, "Who's got a large?" And someone would throw their hand up and you'd throw your bra and they would throw you a bra, and there's a lot of mix matching going on, just hoping you get what you need.
Oh wow! So it's literally seen as underwear.
It's underwear.
That should be part of your equipment.
It's no different than socks or underwear. And then once you leave basic training, then it's up to you to buy your own, to choose your own. You are given a yearly uniform allowance, but that's typically more for your just uniforms, boots, things like that. It's not taking into account sports bras as it should. Like the Irish Army, they recently started a new policy where Irish soldiers are given a yearly stipend for sports bras up to a certain amount. They buy whichever they want, and then they can send in for reimbursement. So that aspect of a sports bra now being viewed as gear in at least one developed nation's military is a fantastic step forward.
So you don't have the choice of going out there and bringing in your own bra?
Not for boot camp and initial training.
And how long is that usually?
Boot camp is 3 months, and then combat training is 1 month.
Wow, so you're forced to just wear a pyjama or little
whatever bra for 4 months. Yeah, you're sleeping in it, you're running in it, you're doing combat training in it, you're on the range, anything and everything, you are in that bra.
The University of Portsmouth said in a study that there is a massive percentage of women just coming out of basic training alone after 3 months reporting breast pain, and some of them couldn't continue because of the damage caused just in a short period of 3 months.
Jesus.
And you can see it during, so the Marine PFT, it's the physical fitness test. It involves 3-mile run, plank, and pull-ups now. And you can see at boot camp, women are running and there are just breasts flying everywhere. And you can only imagine how much better their run scores could be had they been provided with proper breast support.
The way that they're viewed as just underwear, do you think that's because of a lack of education or it's just ignorance?
It's definitely a lack of education. I mean, prior to coming onto Tiger's Eye, I didn't know 90% of what I know now about breast health and bra science. It's crucial. And now having my Tiger's Eye and wearing it and feeling the difference, feeling like this is what support's supposed to be. My shoulders aren't in pain. My migraines are less. In the gym, the cardio that I can do, it's much more comfortable. I'm not getting that breast pain feeling that you get whenever you're doing something that involves, jumping and whatnot.
What health issues has the issued sports bra caused for you and for other people that you know of in the military?
The sports bras issued at boot camp that I eventually just continued to use because I didn't know any better about sports bras. There was shoulder digging, back pain. There's always this pressing knot between my shoulder blades that would not go away. Breast pain, pectoral pain, like upper chest pain, especially if I had to run after doing some form of chest workout. With the increased amount of breast movement, especially up and down, it would pull on the pectoral muscles and cause a lot of pain there. The shoulder straps digging in, causing finger numbness. Now that won't go away. Yeah, just a lot more related problems, especially under the gear, hours at a time, days at a time, in the field, at the gate, all kinds of stuff. Thinking back now on everything that I've learned from the University of Portsmouth and just other research I've done in relation to joining Tiger's Eye has made me realize how many of my issues have been related to breast, back, neck, and shoulder pain that comes from not getting the proper support and comfort in those high-impact, intense activity areas while I was in the military.
That was all for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Look after your breast, and we'll see you in the next one.